Hi guys, this is Nick Cooper with Nail. So I have a piece here that appeals to a good number of you. I say that because every time I seem to be getting a test cut, they disappear, um, and quite fast. And I understand it's with reason. Test cuts are a nice indication of the blade's history and past. So let's get into it. So yeah, like I said, test cut wakizashi. It's about 59.45 centimeters. So it's just under Nishaku. So just missing literally that much to be a katana. Um, it's interesting. Well, by the way, it also has Tokubetsu Hoza. So my personal favorite, or one of my favorite, are Kaga. Um, I love the history of Kaga work. I think that it's an amazing bang for the buck. You get really good workmanship, really good history, um, and yeah, just they make really solid blades, and a lot of it has to do with the history. And this piece in particular, which is signed, so this part here is dated on the top. You see that kanji without the gold inlay, and the signatures on the other side. So filled, literally filled completely, almost entirely on this side of the nakago is the test cut. I'll get into that a little bit later, but we'll talk about the tester, and it's signed. You can see it on this side over here, right there, and you can see there's cow at the bottom. The last kanji at the bottom, it says cow, and it's signed Gashuju Tsujimura Kanewaka. So this is Sandai, third generation Kanewaka, and it was a very successful line in that started in very end of Muromachi, beginning of Edo period, and his nickname, or it's his actual, sorry, not nickname, his real name was Tsujimura Shiroeman. So he actually, which is interesting, he actually squeezed a part of his name into the signature, which he didn't always put the Tsujimura inside it, but in this case he did, which was nice. And it's dated. The portion that's over here is dated 1680 AD, eighth month. So that's August of 1680. So that's when the blade itself was made. The test cut was likely done just right after that. Um, and it was done by a Kaga tester. So it's quite uh, so let's just to do a little bit of a brush up on the history of Kaga works. Um, bear with me. So Kaga was a really incredibly wealthy, especially in Edo period. So much so that they got the name or nickname Kaga Hyaku Mangoku, which was a Kaga of a million koku. Uh, Much of that was because of the yield of agricultural of rice that they got from that. So, but also was also because of where it was located in the Sea of Japan, where they had a lot of trade access, and it was a hub for producing silk, lacquerware, metalwork, all that stuff. So it made it so wealthy and successful. Um, that it was the second richest region, or second richest daimyo after the shogun himself. So you had the shogun, and then you had the Kaga fief, which was ruled by the Maeda clan. Um, so because of that, because the clan was so rich and wealthy and successful, they were very proud, of course, and they wanted to uh, do a lot of stuff on their own. They selected their own regional masters and testers. So that's why the region was known to have a lot of the Maeda clan had a lot of their own in-house testers rather than having like the famous testers like the Yamano clan of the shogun under the shogun that was worked in Edo, um, who tested a lot of big smiths. They had their own in-house testers who tested their own big smiths, which was quite interesting. It's really historically really interesting. And they called their testers Han Goyo. Uh, so they, rather than outsourcing it, they did their tests themselves. So that for me is really something on the checklist of historically important. You know, like rather than seeing a lot of mainstream a Yamano school testers that did a lot of tests, they had these more kind of personalized pieces, which was pretty cool historically. And the tester, which is this column over here, it reads Imura Juzo Masatomo. And on this portion here and here, it reads Mukai Bachi Dotaniri and Wakigeso no ha omote. So what that means is the master swordsmith, in this case Masatomo, he swung the blade through the wakige. So I'm going to post, take a little pause here. I'll post a picture of the wakige cut, which you'll see is the line that's highlighted, and that is where it cut through. It's heavily dense in terms of like bone in the chest area. So the cut is there. Yeah, that takes it the cut. And what's really interesting about it is in the translation, it basically says that it was a wacky cut, but it passed at an angle facing the head. So it's almost as if it went diagonal a little bit, and you know, towards the body's head, and yeah, so that's the wacky cut, and it also says that the blade cleaves straight through so cleanly, and with so much velocity that and power that it literally buried itself into the dirt, which was the dotan. The dotan is like this mound that they would of dirt that they would raise the body on. It would be compacted, and they would prep the body on that. And so the actual cut says that it basically went straight deep into the dotan. So it's pretty impressive, especially for a wakizashi. Keep in mind this is a wakizashi, so this is a shorter blade. It doesn't have as much of force in the length due to the length of it. So the shorter the blade, the more effort, the more sharper the blade has to be in order to cut through a body. So these professional cutting testers, they performed it on the cadavers or the condemned criminals. It was really something of luxury, right? Like, look at that. You see that's basically not overlaid. So that you see the kanji that's on the top here, it would have been carved out. So the tester would have done the tester, and then he would have signed it, and it would have been given to most likely an artisan who would fill it with gold. So that's literally filled with gold. You can see some areas that the gold, some of the kanji, you can see some of the areas over here as well, that the gold with this cowl over here, there's a cowl that some of the gold had fallen out. This is quite reasonable after 370 years or so. So yeah, the gold had fallen. So the tester, it was so the owner would have had to pay the tester to do the cut, and then it would have passed to the artisan to fill it with the gold inlay. So this was purely a flex. It was a way to, also obviously it was, so it wasn't purely, but they wanted to make sure that the blades were really ready, and capable, but at the same time, because it was a peaceful period of Edo, but they wanted to make sure that uh, these these were able to achieve what they could, but at the same time, it was a way to say, or, to show, look, I have the funds. I'm a very wealthy samurai, and I have the funds to be able to perform such a task of paying for the test cut and the inlay, the gold inlay, and so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, the big thing about this that I find interesting is the fact that it's on a wakizashi of this length. So that tells me, um, that this was most likely. Uh, so as you know, the backup, the wakizashi was a backup weapon for the samurai. Right? It was the secondary weapon. Now, um, culturally, under the strict military and social protocols of the Edo period, when a samurai was visiting another domain, they were typically required to relinquish their katana upon entering the lord's domain, or residence, and they were legally, like, they were allowed to retain and keep their wakizashi and their obi at all times. So they were allowed to keep that with them. So if anything was to go bad, the samurai would want to know that his this weapon can hold up to, if anything was to go down. Simple as that. Um, yeah, they just wanted to make sure that this blade can do what it needed to do if it was, if ever in that situation. It was their basically last line of defense, and or actually they're technically their only line of defense, because they didn't have their katana with them. So this is really the minimum, like the maximum length you could have as a wakizashi. And quite honestly, if in close combat, especially, in the old style buildings, uh, a slightly shorter blade was more advantageous. So I don't see I don't see the samurai being at any disadvantage with a blade that was almost katana length in close combat. Uh, so it's really really interesting, like, historically, from a historical standpoint. So enough talk about the actual, um, smith and the test cut. All that's really really cool stuff. But, of course, is the forging quality. And this blade is so well forged, really, really active, uh, grain, and very, very tightly done steel. So I'm going to put the proper angle with this, because this just botches it always, 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 always. My lighting is not amazing. Um, so yeah, that's just a really, really nice Kaga skin to it, and it has this really beautiful hamon. So you see, it's like sukuha, and then it has this really kind of like wave up and down, like very very calm, very some areas really really really, where it almost touches the shinoji. So it's really really high, and yeah, just really really phenomenal uh, grain pattern on this one. Look at that. It kind of actually gives me a little bit of a kind of a bizen feel. Looks like a little bit, some works you'll see it like a Oebi Zen um, works. But let's look at this under the proper lighting. You'll see that the hamon is just so incredibly bright, and that's what Kago. And you actually can catch a little bit of Utsuri on it too. But look at the hamon. It's pretty cool that the hamon, the wild part, is in the kind of close to the middle portion of the blade. So it gets really really wild there. And then on the other side, look at that. Same thing. Copies the same. Really, really wild. Let's see if I can get a better angle of this. You can see There you go. Really, really large nie crystal on the hammer. So there is the test cut and the maze on this side. And I'm sure that it's not zooming in and picking up the way it should. Oh, there we go. Okay. So there you have it. And yeah, just really beautiful blade. And the koshai is pretty cool too. So yeah, this really shout out to John T. Um, amazing Sayashi. He helped me do some work on this. But the fittings are really beautiful Edo mounts. And you'll have this really nice, beautiful Shibuichi Tsuba. So this depicts the 7 sages of the bamboo grove, which is a legendary 3rd century Chinese scholars and poets, musicians who were frustrated by the political corruption, and they abandoned their high government positions and they chose to retreat in the bamboo forest and drink wine and write poetry and debate philosophy and live in total freedom. That's what I believe. That you can see the bamboo in the background. And that's quite interesting because it kind of reminds us that these samurai, although they had to maintain their duties and they were these fierce, crazy fighters, they were also very well educated, very well cultured individuals who had a personal life. And yeah, it's a kind of a a big contrast to the realities of their life. Edo period allowed that. And what's really nice is this. Well, first off, you have the lantern, which was papered actually to Nara school, but this beautiful Nara school lantern that we see everywhere in Japan, literally everywhere. And then this really, let's see why we're not, okay, there we go. Really amazing quality, like really stunning quality, signed Shibuichi as well. And it's you can kind of, I don't know if you can kind of see that there, but there is a little dragon head coming out of the smoke. It's really really cute. And that's the legendary Buddhist miracle of Handaka Sonja and his assembly of enlightened Buddhist disciples. You can see that. Who are viewing this kind of dragon coming out of the kind of vase. So they're viewing this in awe at this taking place. And that's pretty cool too as well. So nihontoart.com, you know what, I say this a lot, guys, and I'm sorry for making a long video. I thought I'd take a different angle and make a video explaining a little bit more detail on this one, just because I have more detail. Oftentimes I don't have as much detail about the Smiths, but this one has a lot of writing going on. So Tokubetsu Ozon, really nice test cut wakige line on the chest. Nihontoart.com. Thanks, guys.